All right. So other day we were working on a catalog item called the work desk furniture, and one small thing like we left it halfway through. So I was talking about variable sets, right? So variable sets, as in it, you can call a variable set as reusable variables stored inside one box. Like, let us say you have a variable set called new user details, and you have a lot of information in that. You can store it inside one box and recall it wherever you want, right? In while creating a variable set,
Recording has been started.
yes, it is. So you could see it here, right? It is being recorded, right? So there's two types of variable set. One is single row variable set and the other one is multi-row. What is a single row is? It's nothing but you could create multiple variables and just say that it is a category, right? Whenever probably request a name, request a manager, request a title, um, business requirement. So these four fields might be common for all catalogs, right? Let us say there's a requirement that these four fields are common for all requirements. Now, for each and every catalog, you don't want to recreate the same variables again and again. What you will do, you will create one variable set called requester details, common, like that. And then inside that, whatever variables, like four or five variables that you want to create, that you will create. Now, instead of creating this four variables in every other catalog, you are just going to go to this place called variable set in the related list of the catalog items, click on edit, and pick up the existing variable set that you have, right? So this is one purpose of variable set. The other one is you have a thing called multi-row variable set. So the other day in 3 days back last week we saw this. So we created a variable set called new user details, and it was asking what is the type of the variable set. We have to give either single row or multi row. So we gave it as multi row. Again, same like whatever we feel, we created multiple variables however we wanted. Now the difference between single row and multi row is I can do uh, in the service catalog. So this is the multi-row variable set that we created. So you could see the difference right here. It forms like a tabulation. Whereas the single row variable set will come like three questions, one beneath the other or left and right, however. But this one multi-row variable set comes like a tabulation, meaning you can add multiple rows of, as the name suggests, you can add multiple rows. Like for example, Abraham, mobile number, ab at 123.com, add, right? And this button you could use it to edit any fields that you have incorrectly keyed in, and this one to delete the row, and this one to keep adding as many rows as you can, and it gives you a functionality to add maximum of 50 rows. And if you want to clear out this entire bucket, you click on this button. So I'll give one more row, right? So you understand the difference between how a single row variable set and how a multi-row variable set differs, right? So there could be some requirements wherein they wanted a tabulation structure like this of multiple user data, and they don't want it like in paragraph. They want it like proper organized structure like this. So you can't keep on creating person one, like person one label and person one name, person one phone number, person one email id. You can't create as many as you want, right? It is difficult. So at that time, these multi-row variable sets are very handy and helpful. So it will make sure that you just create one set and you could accommodate as many user data as you wish inside that content. Any questions with single row variable set and multi-row variable set? In general context, variable set itself is a reusable variables which can be kept on being called or reused in any catalog item that we want. That is a general concept of variable set. But in that also you have a speciality like single row variable set, multi-row variables. Variable set is a collection of variables, like more than few variables. And when you create it using single row type, it will come like this, one after the other, like that. But when you do it as multi-row, it comes like a tabulation. I'll show you. You choose a single, variable set. So when you try to create a new one, it asks you what is this, what you want to create, single row or multi-row. Multi-row will render output like this. Single row will render output like this, right? All right. So with this, that one part of the variable set we missed, that also we covered. Now we'll again jump into the script includes. To revisit on other day, I think we wrote a logic. I had kept these tabs open for us. We wrote a logic such that when we try to request it for self, the system is going to validate whether do I have any existing records in RHM table, meaning for the same user, for the same behalf of person. Meaning I have already requested a work desk furniture from, through this catalog in the past. So if it is so, it will tell me that no, you already have. If not, it will say, no records found, so that we are good to continue, right? So um, we created a client callable script include here, and also we created a um, client script, and we made use of this glide ajax API in order to call the script include. Any questions with specific to this script include and this client script? Let me know if you want me to walk through this one more time. We will do a quick recap or review.
Yes, yes.
Yes, please do that.
All right. Okay. So script include as in it is like a repository of multiple scripts. You can have one or multiple scripts, and it could be used any way you want. Like you could call that. See, script include is like one repository. Whenever you want, you go call, get the data and come back. You go get the data and come back. You don't have to write one big logic everywhere in your business rules or client scripts or other scripting places. Script include plays as a repository of multiple scripts, right? So all these multiple scripts, you could put it one box, and that box you can call it as a class. So, right, inside a class you have several functions. Now I will create a new script include to start with, like training test si represents script include. All right. Function of, just give me a minute, let me write it and then explain it to you. Okay. When I tried to create a script include, what system did is automatically see. I'm trying to create a script include, right? -1. It's a new record. You can see new record. So I put some name, right? Once I put the name and take my cursor off the screen, it automatically creates an API name. API name is important. this name doesn't matter actually. API name is nothing complex, just that it looks at the application name, puts in small case dot the actual name that you suggested for the script include. So that is your API name, and it automatically creates a class for you. And its class is like not inherited from any class or anything. This is how a script include normal thing looks like. um, when you call it a script include, there are two types actually. One is classless, without class, without class. The other one is with class. So if you see here, I wrote a script include. There was one syntax formed, but what I did is I removed all of the script, and I just wrote something like function and my function name, whatever I wanted to give. So I use the same. I have to use the same name as my script include, and then whatever parameters I want to parse it in my function, and whatever mathematical operation or anything that I want to do, right? So this I will do it here, and that value I'm going to return it as an answer. So here you don't find anything called class or anything, right? So this is what you call it as without class functions. Now there is also something called with class. So with class is that you will have to define a class and then write on your script. Now what is the difference between without class and with class is, without class serves as only one script. You can't do anything much, just one script. You can't write anything else. You can't It is not like a package of multiple script. It is just one script. Because when you write it without class, what happens is your function name should be same as script include name, right? So when function name is same as script include name, can you write more functions? No, you cannot. You can write only one functions in that entire script, right? So the functionality is very limited with regard to without class script include. But when it comes to with class, what happens is you could create more functions as you want. For example, I'll tell you. Let me say my function is also this thing. So as you see here, the syntax goes like this: your function name colon function of, and then whatever parameters you want, right? Let me disable this one. I'm disabling this because without disabling also the other one will work, but to avoid confusion from your side, I'm trying to disable this, right? So I'm writing a script include called TSTT, right? And the moment I take my cursor off there, automatically a syntax gets formed. So now I see that system has automatically created a class for it. So my job is to create as many functions that I want. Let me start with my first function. My first function name is training test SI. This function name does not necessarily needs to be same as your script include. Why? Because this script include has a class, which means that it has a capacity to hold multiple functions. So I can give a unique name to my function, and the syntax goes like this: the function name, and then the function declaration, and the parameters that I'm going to pass. So the parameters I'll say like a comma b. You can put it like anything, like it's just the variable names. I have used alphabets. You could put names or anything that you want of your choice. Again, I'm doing a okay. I'll do x comma y. The reason is because in this place I'm putting up a logic that I'm defining a variable z, and I'm mentioning it as that it is a summation of the two parameters x and y, and it gets written with the value z, right? So I'm going to save this up. Now now I'll tell you how this gets printed and how this gets printed in the backend. I'm going to deactivate it again. Okay, to make it more better, I will give a different name from that. But the names of this script include and that script include nowhere is related, and it can be anything or it can be same also, doesn't matter. Just for your clarity, I'm giving different names so that you don't get confused. Fine. So any type of server side scripting that you want to validate it, you don't have to put more efforts on writing the logic or anything. You could use the background script place. So how do you navigate to that is you type background, and under system definitions you have something called scripts hyphen background. So you go to that, and here let me show you few things. GS, right? GS means glide system. So you have few syntax like you want to print something. So I just put dot print off, and then whatever string that I want to print inside the parenthesis. So it printed me that hello, right? Now let us say variable x is equal to 10, variable y is equal to 20. Now gs dot print of x plus y. Okay, so gs dot print. So it tells me that 30, right? So now you understand what is the functionality of gs printer. So it basically prints in the prints in the background. But if you want this to be stored in the logs table, there's one table called logs table, right? This table called script log statements, and you want some data to be printed here, right? Because so that you could check your logs or something. So if you feel that you want it to be printed in the logs table, what you have to do is gs.log, right? It not only gets printed here, but also here. Let me refresh the screen. Okay, there's multiple records, so it's difficult to find it. So let's do created is a to a. Okay, so you could see, right? 30 is the value it got printed. However, to be unique, we will put it like this. My returned value of sum is, okay, so I'm putting up a string called my return value of sum, and after that I'm concatenating it with x plus y. So at that time this plus represents concatenation, this plus represents addition. System might get a confusion. To avoid that confusion, we'll put variable z is equal to x plus y. Okay, now you could get a question like, okay, how come system clearly added this instead of putting 1020? It could have done a concatenation, right? How could system do this? It is because this one is also integer, this one is also integer. That is why system is able to add it. Either otherwise, if I put it like if I put it like in quotes, you could see that it concatenated, like it joined the two numbers 1020. It did not do any addition. The reason is because when I put it as a quotes, systems know that, oh, this is a string. But if I put it without quotes, system knows that, oh, it is an integer, right? So you could find the difference here. So I'll put log, and the value is like this, right? So it says in the background, in your backlog statements that my return value of sum is 30. Whatever you wanted to print, it comes and stores in the logs table. So the difference between keeping it in log and this one is print is like you're just practicing or testing or validating your script, right? At that time you want to see. But log is whenever that script is called. For example, if I put a gs.log here, whenever that script include is called, at that time it will go and get stored in the logs table. So it is easier for you to tomorrow come back and look at the logs. Oh, what happened on the yesterday when this specific script was running. So it will be easier for you to go and have a check through there. Now right, so this is how your background scripts work. Now how do we call a script include without any class, just a function from background? Nothing much. You have to call your function name, and the function name expects two parameters, right? So you're we are in script you're expecting two parameters, x and y. So you could possibly put it like 9 comma 2, right? So this is what you call it in your function. So this function you could just store it in a variable testing value. So you store it in a variable and finally print the variable, like whatever is the returned value. So it returns with a value that the value is 11. So which is nothing but you're calling out a function called training test si. So if you look at the word training test si, it is nowhere inside the script. So the moment see something like a function like this, it goes to the script include and looks for looks in the entire script include table. Hey, do I have a script include name called training test si? Yes, system found one. So after finding one, uh, what it does is it goes and keeps this substitutes this parameter 1 and parameter 2 at this place. So now x becomes 9 and y becomes 2. So here we are doing a simple mathematical operation of addition of both the numbers and storing it in a variable called z and returning the value of z, which is nothing but 9 plus 2 is 11. So it gets returned, whatever is the return value is stored in a variable called testing val, that you're printing. Any questions right now with how do you use a without class simple function? Like right now this might look like a simple mathematical operation, right? But instead of that you could write a glide record, try to update a record, something like that. Meaning let me say update my incident, um, so I'll put the incident number. Short description, test description. Okay. So previous example, I showed you that it is a simple mathematical operation, right? So instead of that, now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a script include called update my short incident short description. So there I'm parsing two things. One is my incident number, the other one is my short description value. So what I shall do it here is I will write my glide record. So this is something that we learned two classes before, right? So I'm going to my incident table and putting up a query like first query is number is nothing but x. X is nothing but the incident number, right? Number is x. And then you would obviously find only one record with the same number. So what we are doing is we are going to set the short description of that record is equal to y gr.update, right? Now you could just mention it as written express updated. Okay. So as you see here again, you have a function called update my my incident short description. So inside this, you require two parameters, one and x and y. Again, I'm just putting x and y. Instead of that, you could put like a num short disk whatever. But whatever you're using, you have to make sure you have to follow it in the below also wherever you're calling or referencing it. So instead of doing a simple mathematical operation of x and y, what we're doing is your logic is different. We're going to incident table and putting up a filter stating my number is nothing but this value, and then running the query. And if I get a next record, then set my gr means the record, right? The record whatever you've received, the record's short description with the value of y that was passed, and then this record needs to be updated. You're putting up a command that updated. So once updated, so you're going to return stating that x is again your number, right? So it will say inc blah 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 updated, the word updated, like it's a string. You could see that it's between the quotes, right? Now let's do this. All right, so I have already in background script, I'm storing a variable called testing val, and then I'm calling a function called this one and passing two parameters, incident number and test description. So let me keep this incident number also open in another tab. So you could see that previously the short description of this one is different, like SAP material, something is there. So I'm gonna do a run. Okay. So these are all like background logs, because you're trying to update the records, there could be few things happening, right? So those are the things you could not worry about it. But whatever we returned that we wanted the system to say the incident number space updated, the keyword, right? So it got printed here. Also, we wanted the record to be updated with a short description. So as you can see, I'm going to my short description. You could see that this info icon means that somebody has changed the value, meaning it could be system or it could be anybody. For example, let us say I'm keeping this form open, whereas we have, let us say, we have Shushmita accessing the same URL in her laptop, and she's changing the instruction from X to something else. At that time, I have not reloaded by form, right? However, system will show this icon, which means that somebody else is changing the values of this record. So now in this case, while I kept this form open, my background script was updating my short description as test disk, right? So it shows me this different icon. But as you can see, as we expected, the short description got updated here, right? So this is a typical example of you use a class without classless function. But the drawback in here is that you could only use, you could make utilization of the script one function. It could be a big function, it could be a small function, whatever, but just one function. You can't encourage or utilize multiple functions in that. So this is a classless function, right? So now let us get into with class function. Okay. So this one is a with class function. It is not a client callable, it is a with class function, meaning the moment I just gave a name, system created a class, and it was like this. Now inside this I will write my function, but you have to keep few syntaxes in memory. uh, if you want to write a with class function, function name colon function declaration, and then two parameters, three parameters. Maximum people put three parameters, or you can even have one parameter or no parameter also, right? Like this. And the syntax for calling it from backend is exactly same, but just that here it is a little different, as in you have to give like this. I'll put it from fast. variable x is equal to new script include API name dot function name. Your function name is this, right? Function name. Then inside this, whatever parameter you want, you have to put. So here the system is typically expecting two parameters, x comma y. So I'll put it like 22 comma 4, right? So again the same addition for you to understand the syntax first. Now what I shall do is just print of x. So I would be expecting 26 as an answer here. Before that, let me save it, run it. Yeah, so you could see it's 26, right? Let me write another function. Training SI with class multiplication, okay? So what I shall do is, without putting x plus y, I'll put x into y. So here in the function, I will put test training test SI with class multi. The script include I'm calling is the exact same global.tester, but just the function that I'm calling is, we have two functions. If you see on the screen, we have two functions now. One is this function, the other one is this function. So instead of first function, I'm calling the second function. So if you run it, you should see a multiplication answer being written. 22 into 4 is 88, right? So like this, you could write
So here, can we call two functions at a time?
no. So if you want to call two functions at a time, like addition val multi val, okay. So I have to put two variables. Like I mean, with one line of code, I cannot do it. Like I'm creating a new variable called addition val, and in that I'm calling the same script include, but the function here is training test SI with class, and same parameters I'm giving. I can give same or whatever. Okay, it could be anything. So let me put 10 and 4 here. And then I'm putting up a new variable called multival. There I'm using the script include obviously, but function here is different. It says that it is training test SI with class multi. Now let me print addition value. My addition value is same like that. Let me print after that my multiplication value. So you could see that my addition value is 14, my multiplication value is 88. So this one is called the addition script, this one is called the multiplication script. Right? Is that clear? All right. So now, if you just try to compare this one with the script include we created on the other day, right? If you look at this, you forget about the slide record and all, like it might be confusing, right? But basically, okay. So the major difference between this one and this one is, what do you see? What you see is that in server side callable with class function, the parameters are put inside, right? Whatever parameters you want, it is stored inside. Whereas here, the parameters, each one of them are called by this syntax. I'll repeat again. This one is a client callable script include, right? So the difference between client callable script include with class and the server side callable script include with class is exactly same, except for the way how you bring the parameters. So if you see, Here, the parameters are called within the function. Okay. Okay. So as I told you, the only difference between a client callable script include and server side script include, it's exactly same, but in terms of script include it will look a little different in terms of how you're calling a parameter. In server side callable script includes, the parameter is called within the function, function declaration, like x comma y or x comma y comma z, like that. Whereas where if a script include is called from a client side, then it will be processed using this particular syntax, meaning each variable a b c and all, like will have to follow syntax like this dot get parameter of whatever the name that you gave it in your client script. In client script, add param, you kept on giving several names, right? Those names has to come, otherwise it's all the same. Any difference? Now we have seen without class, with class. In with class also two types, client callable, server side callable. So the difference between client callable and server side callable is how you call the parameters. In server side callable, it's easy, like just in function parameters, you put it like a comma b or whatever, the names, and pass it easily. But in client callable, just there's one extra step. You have to use a syntax this dot get parameter of whatever is the argument name, right? The parameter name that you gave in your client script, that name you have to use it here. That is the difference. Any questions so far?
So when both the results are same, why do we use two type of callables?
Okay. Let us say you're writing a catalog item, right? We were working on this catalog item. Now, only when the record is submitted, it will go into the server and get stored, right? See, I'm just filling up like whatever I want. I fill it up whatever I want, but it doesn't make sense, right? Only when I save it, it is stored in the system. See, if I'm filling up the form and I have not yet clicked on order now button. Now, let us say, Mr. X, let us say you log into your system. Will you be able to have an idea what are the details I filled it up? No. Until I submit, it does not get stored anywhere in the table. Only when it gets stored in a table like RITM or any table, you will know, oh, these are the details Lakshmi has entered. So it means that until a data is stored in the server side, you will not have access to the data. Now, before a data is stored in the server side, you want to do some validation before submit. Before when let's say this example only, before submitting the form to the database itself, I want to do a validation whether the same person called system administrator has raised the request for the same catalog anytime in the past. If so, I'm not going to allow them to submit this request, right? At this time, the data is not stored in the database. How do you evaluate? So you have to take the data from the client side, whatever value that you filled, and just cross verify it with the information we already have it in the server, meaning the existing record database. At that time, client callable script includes are important, right? So it all depends based on your requirement.
Yeah, got it.
All right. Now, so I showed you in background script how easy it is to call a server-side callable script include from your background script or any server-side script. So as easy as it is to mention in script, it is easy to call also. Just you put your the function declaration for new initialization, and then your API name, whatever name that you got, finished up with the parenthesis and put a dot and then function name, and inside the parenthesis it could be one parameter, multi-parameter, maximum of three parameters, and then that's a job done. But with coming to client callable script include, you have this extra step of the way that you access the parameter, right? So when the script include itself has this extra parameter, just imagine the client script. So it means that in client script also the steps are high, meaning there is a set of 4 to 5 lines which you have to remember as a part of syntax, but don't try to just memorize. but I will give you explanation. But on a long run, what will happen is it will become like a muscle memory to you. Like for loop and all, like in C++, you know the logic, but it comes like a muscle memory, right? You keep on typing that. So like this, so you these few things, like for example, glide record, glide ajax, all these common scripts that we use repeatedly, you have to write it so many times that gets stored in your muscle memory. But it is equally important that you understand them in the starting. So this is the client script that we wrote on the other day. I will explain this again back to you. So what we are doing is we are looking at the request type and we are checking if my request type is self. If it is self, I'm trying to see in my database whether with the same person, for the same person, any request is already raised. Right? In order to do that, what do I require? I do require a glide record and a query stating requested for is my system administrator or whoever's name is there in the field called on behalf. And then I know the catalog item name. I'm going to see if a record exists or not, right? But unfortunately, I cannot write the glide record in client script. So what I will do, I will write it in script include, and whatever script that I need, I'm gonna uh, call it from my client script using a glide ajax. So the syntax for glide ajax is variable object name, any name that you can give, and then initialization of the glide ajax, and then the script include name, and next line is adding first parameter. The first parameter is nothing but your function name. So that will be always by default syspam underscore name. This parameter name you will never change. If you change, it will not work. This is constant. These are like reserved keywords. In other words, you could say that these are reserved keywords for function declarations. And then whatever function name that you wrote it there in the script include, that name you have to give. Next, whatever comes, those are additional parameters. As I told you, you could have, like A, B, C, and all, right? So this one you can keep it like syspam A, syspam B, right? But everything has to start with the keyword syspam underscore. Here we are using only one parameter. Like you're trying to get the form value. In the form, somebody has filled in a value called on underscore behalf, right? On underscore behalf is nothing but is this one. So this value is stored in the parameter called syspam underscore A. And you could also keep as many parameters you want, but for our requirement, we thought this is enough. But I'm trying to say that you could have as many parameters as you want, right? So you're calling the script include and you're suggesting the system, oh, this is the function name, and you're giving one parameter like, oh, this is my client side value. Because without parameter, why do you want to? Yes.
So here on underscore behalf is a backend value of request for request, right?
On underscore behalf is the backend value of my request on behalf of variable.
Yes.
Request on behalf of variable, right? And you could give multiple function if required, or just multiple parameters if required. Like if your requirement is a little more complex or lengthier, you would continue to give more this thing. Right now I'm only validating based on my request on behalf of, right? somebody could uh, somebody could even validate it based on the value you entered here and you value you entered here. So if you want to do a combined validation, you need both the parameters, right? So you have to give add param of syspam x is glide form dot get value of on behalf, and then uh, dot add param of pass users, syspam underscore pass users is glide form dot get value of entry pass users. Like that, you could add multiple parameters as you want. So all these response from the server side, you will get it as only as XMLs. So this XMLs you have to um, decode it and find an returned attribute uh, called answer. So so this you call it as a callback function here. So callback function is nothing but, I mean, you have to put your function name here, and then that processing, right? You're trying to process the value. That processing value, you will write it in a separate script. separate script outside this thing. If you see right here, this curly braces got ended up here, and this function name that I just gave it here, that will be returned in separately, and whatever value was received from here, it will be uh, considered as a response. So this is again a keyword, standard keyword called response. But this function name, it could be of anything. Here we have just gave it like val, like that. So here we are giving it like a response dot. In response, you're getting the XML, and there you have these document elements. You're getting an attribute called answer. So this is the standard syntax anywhere you go. So once you take it, this will contain the value of the value that you retained from your server side. And if the value is found to be so and so, you're going to do anything, or if your value is something else, you'll do anything. So after getting the value, however you want, you could modify the data and handle it, right? So right now we're just trying to keep an alert and just clearing the value because we've identified that we found that record exists, so we're trying to clear the data. Like this, you could do any type of setting up of the values, or setting any value of the form, anything that you could do. Any questions so far? Any questions with so far with regard to classless function? With class function,
So 30th line is mandatory, right? I mean,
that's right, yeah.
it's the same syntax for every script, right?
Every same syntax to call any script include from a client side.
Yes.
So to jump into scripting, two things you have to practice several times. One is your client record, the other one is your script include. Script include calling from a client script, client ajax, right? Besides that, the G underscore form and all, like these are very simple things. Like on the go, it will be easy for you. Just two syntax you'll have to be very thorough of, this syntax and the client record syntax. And this gform dot get value, set value, current dot get value, set value, and all is like some extras. Meaning, those are not like complicated. It is not like a logic or anything. Just those are functions to perform a certain operation.
So do we have any application that says what is the use of each API?
Yes, you mean to say documentation?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I have it. I'll make sure you guys get it by today. You should have received it by Tuesday itself, but yeah, I'll insist the admin again to send that specific documents to you. So guys, let's take a 10 minutes break, and we'll all be back by 9:05. Okay, right now it's 8:55. We'll all be back by 9:05. I shall go on mute. Thanks guys. We'll meet again at 9:05. Started. Like any questions with so far on without class, with class, and in with class again you have two types: server side, client side callable. Any doubts so far? So what we've learned is the script, syntax of it. However, complex logic or simple logic is syntax is same. Just that your further undergoing logic will be different. For example, you want to evaluate two items, three items, or you want to process it in a different table and then retrieve the data. The logic will be different. Um, Based on that, the lines of script and the complexity of the script might increase, but besides the syntax is all the same. So when you start with to be very clear of what is the syntax, you go with simple exercises with simple examples and simple syntax. You do 10 different things of the same sort, After that, you could leverage it with complex requirements like evaluating two fields and then subtracting with one, and fetch and identifying this record in a different table. So all these you could go further from there. But so far, any doubts? Right, all right. So if that is fine, we will go into the actual server side scripting, which is business rule. So if you look at incidents, in incident table, right click configure all, right? So it will tell you what are the components required to build up an application. In the past, we had seen client scripts, UI policies, dictionary entries, right? See, dictionary entries we have seen, client scripts we have seen, on load, on change, on submit, and dictionary entry overrides we have seen, notifications we have seen, UI policies we have seen, and data policies we have seen. So now, in line scripts, we have seen how do we call a server-side scripting as well, which is from GlideHX. So what we need to see right now is script, the actual server-side script called the business rules. So whenever I say business rules, you just translate it with like server-side calling, right? So let's create a new one on the incident table. Business rules applies only to tables, not like catalog forms or anything. Okay. So info message when assignment group is changed. Okay. So this is the name that I'm going to give to my business rule, and my business rule shall run on the table called incident, and when I want to run it, right? So to do that, I have to enable this advanced thing. By default, you have to keep this advanced checkbox enable. So this three things to it. When I want this to be run and what I want to do, right? So when I want this to be run is before a record is updated or after record is updated. So let's give after record is updated. So after a record is updated and whenever satisfying this specific condition. So this specific condition is, I'll say that assignment group changes. So you could see that there are several operators like is assignment group is service desk, assignment group is not service desk, assignment group is empty, is not empty, starts with, ends with, contents, and all of that, right? And you have an option called is dynamic also. It gives you a list of one of your groups. So I have chosen this one. So you have options like it's one of my groups and all of that. So it is nothing but like you might be mapped to like five groups, six groups, right? So if the system identifies that the person whoever changes the assignment group, if they if the system finds that like that assignment group change to value is nothing but my group, then it will um, uh, you know it will process the next set of the script. So like that filter conditions you could put. So in our case, we're saying like whenever it changes basically, at that time you want to do. So at that time what you want to do you want to set your field values or you want to set a message or about action? So let us do a set value. um, so let us set the value of follow up to a specific date and time, right? 1 minute. All right. So you might want to set up the field values, or you want to give up info message. Like for example, um, assignment group has been updated, right? So if setting up a value is simple, you will make use of this box. But if you wanted to do some complex actions, then you will go ahead with your script section. And also you have an option called abort action. So like you have some requirement wherein when specific condition satisfies, um, you should make sure that that record is not updated, right? So when it is a priority one and people are trying to remove the assigned to field, at that time you have to abort the action. You cannot remove the assigned to field. So at that point of requirements, we could make it as abort action true. Okay, I will do that for you now. Priority is critical and assigned to gets changes, and assigned to is empty. So this we will have to do before update, because after the record gets updated, what is the point of aborting an action, right? So before somebody saves the record, that has to be done. So inc p1 empty assignee. Okay. So priority ones are very important tickets, right? So you can reassign it to somebody, that is fine, but you can't leave that as empty. Like even for a fraction of second also, you cannot leave it as empty. If you want to reassign it to a specific individual. Do not like leave the queue empty. So let us say that is a requirement. Then what we can do is we can write a business rule like this: before a record gets updated on the incident table, and as soon as three conditions satisfied, uh, priority is critical one, and assigned to field is being changed, and assigned to is being kept as empty. When these three conditions satisfied, so you can say them a message that you cannot um, empty the assignee value for a p1. Instead you can reassign it to specific person and save the record, right? This is the message I'm giving, and I'm also doing an abort action. Let me save this up. So let's take any P1 ticket. Yeah, here we have. So previously it is with Beth Angeline. I'm gonna remove this up. So it's pre1 and assigned to changes, right? That's what I've given. Assigned to changes. Previously it was Beth Angeline. I'm removing it and I'm trying to save this record. So it basically should give me this info message and also an abort. You cannot empty the assignee value for a P1. Instead, you could reassign it to specific person, save the record, and it says invalid update, right? Meaning it does not save the record. If you refresh the form, you could see that whatever it was previously, it is there, right? Any questions of how this has been handled, this particular requirement? All right. So now, like the message that I got it, right? I got it in blue color. So let us say you have a requirement that no, I don't want to get it in blue color. I want to get it in red color. That cannot be done at this place, because this itself says it's a message. It's not like an error message or anything. So what you can do is, instead of utilizing this functionality, you could go to server side script, and here you could put gs.add error message, because error message comes in what color? Red color. Give this error message and gs dot let me look at the existing scripts. All right. So, in order to jump into advanced script, you should not abort it right away, because right now we don't want a blue color info message. We wanted a red color error message. So, anyways, we need to jump into advanced script. But in order to jump into advanced script, you can only write it in the script section. But when you keep your abort message right here, what happens is, you will not be system will not even look at what is there in the advanced script. It will right away abort this functionality. So in order to this to happen, you have to uncheck this, and in advanced script, you will put it as error message so that it comes in red color. And you want to right now abort it, right? So what is the equivalent script translation for aborting is current. Wherever you see a word called current, it means that it represents the current object, current record. And there we are giving a function called set abort action and boolean true. So for this, you don't have to worry. You just have to put current dot, and it lists down the list of methods that we have. So it gives you suggestions right away. So it tells you, right, sets a flag to indicate if the next database action is to be aborted. It could be an insert. You're trying to abort an insert action, or a deletion action, or updation action, whatever. So you have to set a flag true or false, right? It says, see, there also it helps you saying that you have to put a boolean means true or false, right? So this will help you out. If you remember, you remember in client script I was telling you gform dot. So anything like glide form, that API is used for client script. Gform dot get value of, gform dot set value of, gform dot clear value, gform dot add option, gform dot add decoration, and all of that. Like that, in business rules, it is all about current dot, current dot, current dot, right? So current represents the specific record that you are into. So if you are in the syntax also, if you see current comma previous, right? um, you remember in on change I was telling you old value, new value. Like that, what old value represents is previous value, what new value represents is current value. So that same difference in understanding, you just translate it here. So where in client script, if you put old value, here you have to put previous. In client script, wherever you're putting new value, here you have to put current, right? So I'm saving this record. Let me just make sure everything is right. All right. We'll refresh the screen before we could test. Right. This is a critical incident, and I'm removing the assign to saving it. I'm expecting this to show with a red error message, and then it says invalid update, right? And because the save form is not saved, because you have set an about action for this particular updation of record. Now same thing you can do it like before insert also. So before insert, assignment group is empty. So here we are trying to do, before a record is inserted, just want to make sure that any P1 that is created, before creating, we have to make sure that assignment group is not empty. So how do we make sure assignment group is not empty? We will put like whenever assignment group is empty, we're going to say no, you cannot keep an empty assignment group value for P1, and we will abort the action. They will not be able to create a P1. So in order to create a P1, it is important for them to put the assignment group mandatory, right? So you could bring out actions like this. And I told you an example for insert update, right? So before deletion of a record also, you can just keep some validations, like if this record is so and so, do not delete, about action you can keep. Or else you could print a log in some logs table, anything like that. That is with regard to insert, update, and delete between before and after. Any doubt with regard to before and after insert, update, and delete? right? So there is something called asynchronous, right? So what is asynchronous is after update and asynchronous business rules are same. Then what is the difference between after and asynchronous? That after works um, like exactly after a record is updated. Asynchronous is like it will be like slow, it will run slow. Then what is the point of keeping a slow script is because let us say you have an incident. um, so once an incident record is created, you want to send in 100 emails to 100 people, right? So that is a long process, right? So anything that you identify or your process to the system is very long. Both are nothing but one and the same, just that the difference is after update the operation will happen right away in the fraction of second, but async will take like 1 minute or 30 seconds based on the length of the operation. um, if the logic is big enough.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, can you repeat the testing again? Because my internet was slow.
All right. After update and async are same. After update and async are same, except the word suggests, right? Asynchronous means like it is not a concurrent action, but it is like a consequential action, meaning it happens right after an update. Like I see. Like when you will, there will be a requirement that whenever an incident is updated, you want to send 100 emails to 100 specific people. For example, let us say P1, okay? For P1, you wanted to, if there is a P1 and that P1 is related to a desktop, right? Desktop or internet, you want to send an email to all the individual users of the affected location, right? Not like one email, like if there are 1,000 users, you wanted to send 1,000 emails. If there are 2,000 users in user table, you wanted to send 2,000 emails. Because once a P1, see, imagine you are in a company and there are 10,000 employees working in a specific region, Hyderabad region, and there is a P1 created. There is only one ticket created, and there will be some one or two teams governing that incident or working on that incident. There will be only one caller in the incident. Like we cannot encourage like 10,000 people also being the caller, right? So but we know that this issue is kind of affecting this entire building, entire city, something like that. So once that incident is resolved, you have a requirement that you want to send an email to all the active users of that location for which the incident is created. So if you look at incident, there will be a field called location, or probably caller's location. So caller's location is what? Location field is not appearing here, but let us say the company is Acme North America, and it is in a specific region. So we need to identify who are the other peoples, like how many other peoples in the same region we have to send them a email stating that, hi everyone, the issue has been resolved and the system has been restored back to normal. So you are expecting like 10,000 emails or 1,000 emails. That is a large volume, right? At this point, definitely you should not put after update business rule. Instead, you have to put after async business rule. The conditions will be: when to run is the table is incident table, when to run is priority is P1, the state changes to resolve, and categories like laptop issue or any specific network issue. Category is network issue. In advanced script of the business rule, you will give it like you will glide record. all the users mapped to this specific company. All the users mapped to this specific company and sharing same location as this incident caller. And you will trigger notifications to them. This is the requirement, imagine. At this time there is an expectation that there could be 1000 emails, 10,000 emails, right? Because and based on the volume of the users you have on the specific location. So at this place it is important to put an async business rule, otherwise there's a possibility that there could be a system slow. Because when you put it as after update, like system will be rushing to do that job. But when you put it as async, system will take its own slow time, meaning it will not take like hours and hours. It will take like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But if you look at the database levels and nodes level, that 2 minutes, 3 minutes also makes a very big difference. So that is a typical use case where you could put a this kind of a async business rule. Should we go ahead and possibly write up this requirement? Status resolved. Category is network, right? So there's a P1 created on a specific location, and that has been resolved. So what you need to do is P1 network resolve email. Okay. So the syntax is same. So the logic is that, see, email to all users sharing same company as the incident caller. All right. What do you need now? You need to go to the table of incident table. So in incident table is the same place where business rule has been written. You need to identify the caller's company. So caller name is nothing but caller ID. So how do you get the caller ID is current dot caller underscore ID. So you don't just require caller ID, but also you require caller ID's company, right? So you go to company field, caller ID dot company, right? Company. So this value will store in a variable called where comp, where comp is equal to my current records, my current incident records, caller ID is company, right? Now what you need to do is you have to go to an user table and look for all the active people who share the same company. For example, in this case the company is Acme North America. We have 143 people, which is a quite a large thing. In North America also we have several locations, right? So let us see what is the location of this guy, Gerard. Okay, so instead of choosing company, let's choose location. That will be even more better. You have 14, fine, this looks decent. So current dot caller ID dot location. Okay, now what I need to do is send email to all the users in the user table sharing same location as the incident caller. Now what I need to do is I have to glide record incident table first, sorry, user table first step. So what I can do, variable gr is equal to new glide record of sys
So
underscore.
instead we can say where gr tab, right?
Okay. Okay, is this fine?
Where gr space tab.
Oh, like, yeah, you can put tab the space. Oh, okay, okay, you're saying this one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, yeah.
shortcut.
Right, yeah. So we're going to use a table, and in user table, we're putting up a filter like location is this one. Excuse me. Location is this one, and then you are definitely expecting multiple records to be there. So you'll put while, right? So trigger email. So far, any doubts? Okay, now let's see how do we trigger email. So to trigger an email, first of all, we need to create an email. Let's create an email right away. I have to go to notifications under system notification. You have system notification module. Under that you have notifications. So here I'll go ahead and create a new notification. Okay, so this notification is also for the incident table, right? I'll give the same as name as business rule, doesn't matter. And it asks me when you want to send the email, when a record is inserted or updated. So we're saying that, oh, when a what I can directly put it as when a record is inserted or updated, and I can put updated, and I can put whatever filter conditions I kept it here, right? So instead of writing a separate business rule, I can write it right away here. But the problem is, in the same place, I will not be able to send it to 100 peoples, right? Because I need to identify who are the peoples. So because of that requirement, I need to change it as event is fired. Event is fired. This conditions I'll come back again. So we are going to trigger an event from business rule that will in fact trigger a notification. For this, we need to create an event. So how do you create an event is, you have something called event registry. Create a new one on the event registry. An event name. So you'll put it like P1 resolve um, P1 resolve network, right? And this is going to be running on my incident table. So these two, fired by and description, are like for your developer documentation, like for easy access. So we'll put it like via BR. BR means business rule. You paste it up, right, and save this. So this is the new event name that you have created. After creating an event name, refresh your notification form so that it gets reflected in the um, event name drop downs. So I'll just look for P1 resolve network here. So I can find P1 resolve networks. I'm done. And I need to identify who are the recipients, right? Let us hold on this. Let us write the who will contain, what it will contain. So wherever I put like dollar, curly braces and all, those are dynamic fields. Uh, you don't have to worry about that. If you know the backend name, just put dollar, curly braces and put the backend name. If you don't know the backend name, you can go and find it there. Otherwise, the shortcut is to choose it from the right side variables that you have. So in subject, we're saying that the number, incident number, dynamic number, P1 has been resolved. And in body, we're saying that, we're giving the number details, short description details, resolution notes, and you could keep on adding how many ever you want it, which is fine. Now we have defined when to send and what it will contain. Now the biggest question is who will receive it, right? How do we handle this is right now? um, Going to user table. So all these users are the people who are going to receive it, right? Now from okay, see, it says that when to send this, an event is triggered. This when this p1.resolve.network event is triggered. Now who is going to trigger this event? Who's going to trigger is our business rule is going to trigger. So the syntax for that the same is gs.glide system dot event queue, right? It gives you like a syntax how to write that as well. If you see name which is in string and then the record, uh, you know name is this name, the name that we created for this event name, comment the record. So the record, if it is incident table, you have to put it as current, but our places it is user table, right? So if it is user table, you have to put gr represents user table and current represents incident table where it was created. Now this event also we created it on incident table. uh, the event also we created on incident table, and notification both we have created on incident table. So we have to put current, because when we put current it represents incident table, because the business rule itself is written on incident table. Now there are two parameters that you could pass in your syntax as part of your syntax: param1 comma param2. So in param1 and param2, you could put anything that you want to. In our case, we're gonna put the this user, right? This user sysid, gr dot sysid. So what is gr dot sysid? It is nothing but this users sysid, or else since this requirement is about the email, you can put gr dot email also, right? And param2, you could just leave it empty, or probably for namesake you could put it like gr dot current dot number. Now so the syntax for event is, you put the event name comma the object, the table object. So you could either put it as any glide record object or the table object, but since we wrote the event name and the notification on incident table is here, right? So here represents current. So if we put it as current, comma gr.sysid, gr.sysid is nothing but the sysid of your user record and then the current number, meaning the incident number. So through this, your event will be triggered, which in fact will trigger your notification. Now here you have something called param1 contains recipient, param2 contains recipient, right? So I'm gonna enable this param1 contains recipient. So what happens is, this is my parameter 1, right? So each time it goes inside this loop, that one person sys will be passed here. So everybody will be going to send a receive a separate email. So I will enable event param1 contains recipient. So I'm going to save this up. So this one, it is important for me that I put it as async, because it is going to, I know that it is going to trigger probably 100 emails, 10 emails. So there is always a potential of larger processing. So I would use an async business rule instead of an after update business rule here. So let us test this specific functionality. Mm, all right. Let me close all other not required columns. Let me refresh the form as well. So I'm going to this instant form. I'm going to resolve this. So when we resolve, few fields are definitely mandatory, right? So let's save this up. Right now that we have saved it, so we definitely expect bunch of emails to be triggered. So how do you validate the email? Is go to emails module in the left navigation. Okay, the emails that we are expecting has not been triggered. Let us identify why. Oh, the category should have been resolved. Okay, see, the category should have been network, but this category is hardware. Let us again update the record. Let us reopen this. Priority is P1, status resolved, category is network, all right. So let's put it as network. Save this. Now if I resolve, it should be triggering my email. Saving this. Okay, now that I've saved it, let me refresh my emails again. Okay. So all the subjects of the email should start with the number. That is what we have kept, right? So we could see that 13 other people received this email. These are the 13 other people. You could see that in the recipient's name. And let me click on right click and preview email to see one sample record how the email body is. So the email body is like this: the number, short description, resolution notes, and the additional comments. Right? So you got this requirement. Any doubts in this one?
Can you again explain about the event?
Hmm. So in this specific user requirement, we are trying to combine events, notifications, and business rule, right? So an event can be triggered from any server-side scripts. So once you trigger an event, you can do any server-side actions or else just a notification also. So you create an event on a specific table. So in terms of event table, only two fields are required, important: event name and table. Rest all this fired by and description and all is for developer documentation for easy understanding. So here we created an event called P1 resolve network, and which resides on the table incident. So in notification, we are saying that we need to send an email on incident table whenever a specific event is fired. What is the event? This is my event name, right? Who is going to receive the email? So whatever event is triggered, right, that will have two parameters by default. It could be empty parameters or it could be stored with some value. So in that you have parameter 1, you have parameter 2. With parameter 2, I'm not doing anything. It's just that the parameter 1, I'm stating my system that, hey, parameter 1 contains the recipient, like who should receive it. Okay, this has been checked. And what it will contain, it's just a simple one, like you're trying to bring in the fields of the incident record and populate it here. Now we have a notification defined, we have an event create. Now who is going to trigger your event is the next question. So who's going to trigger my event is, I've written a business rule. Business rule means it's a server side script, like the business rule will run. So we're saying that after update, so after update asynchronously, when these conditions satisfies, process my script. So which condition satisfies? When priority is P1 and state changes to resolve and category is network. At that time alone, what you do is go to user table and put up a filter that identify the people who belongs to my same location, meaning my current records caller id's location, same like that. How many other people do I have? Identify them and there's a possibility that there's going to be more than one record, so put a while loop, and while you identify each one of these records, trigger the event. So the syntax to trigger an event is gs.event object, the table object. So since we have created the event on incident table, we want the object also to be incident. So instead of putting it like incident, you can put it as current, because current itself represents incident table, right? Because this business rule is written on incident table. And then in notification we said that we are going to send the recipients in parameter 1. So this is parameter 1, this is parameter 2. This parameter 2, I'm sending the incident number, but it's of no, like you can leave it empty also, because anyways we are not using it anywhere else. But parameter 1, we gave information to my system that hey, parameter 1 is going to contain the recipient. So every time, like this while loop will be fired, and which in turn will trigger a notification. I will show you one more thing, event logs. Okay, event logs. So whenever an event is triggered, it will contain, and we'll do filter created z2a to look at the recent ones. So this is my event name, right? p1.resolve.network. So you could see that 14 events has been triggered, and parameter 1 contains what? The sysid of the sysid of the user record. Second one contains the current dot number, which is nothing but the incidence number. So you could see that parameter 2 everything contains incident numbers. Parameter 1 contains sysids. These sysids are nothing but this user table sysids, meaning specific user records sysid. Like this is able tutors, this is somebody Abraham Lincoln, like that. There are different people, their sysids are these records. So this is a log. Like for example, if at all while demoing it to you, if I find that event was not triggered or something, what I will do is I will just look at my event logs to see whether an event is triggered or not. If there is any issue here, then I will go and debug why my email was not sent and anything. But right now I do not have any issue with my email, so I don't have to check my event logs. But I'm just showing you, in case if you have any issues that it did not process, email did not get processed, you need to understand and identify whether in events table do I have an entry or not, like was this first of all even triggered or not. Then you can see whether notification is triggered or not, right? These are consequential actions, one after the other, right? Any doubt?
Once open the business rules script.
Hmm.
So the GR in 12th line and the GR in 7th line are both same, right?
Correct, yeah. So eh, after this line number 7, wherever you say GR, it represents the user record. See, out of my habit, I'm putting the name as GR. You can put it like USS, and but you have to make sure everything it's USS. Right? Any doubts? Your voice is breaking.
No, no
Wait.
more doubts. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so with this, we'll have the session closed for today, and tomorrow we will see query and yeah, we will see query and display business rule, right? So display business rule is something that has to do with client script and stuff. So we'll look at the query business rule and display business rule tomorrow.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yes, please.
So instead of selecting async, what happens if you select update and
It
not
will
update
work.
after?
Okay, you put a S after update, right? It will work absolutely fine,
Yes.
not a problem. But in
Hmm.
this case, we had 10 records, right? But imagine 10,000 records are there, or imagine 1 lakh records are there in the user table sharing same location. At that time, what will happen is for everybody using ServiceNow, for a fraction of seconds, there will be slow in the system. Like even though you have a good network, the system will be like little slow because the load you give to the system is very high, right? And you're telling the system, you're giving a command to the system, hey, do it right away, right after my update, right? You're not giving that breathing space for the system to process the information. Just saying, hey, I want this right away to happen. So if it is 10 records, absolutely fine. It will not have any problem. But if it is more than 10,000 records, 1 lakh records, it will be a problem. And imagine you are developer one, I'm a different developer, and somebody else is a different developer. You do same like you think that okay, only in my case I have some 10,000 records. Let me put after update only. So you'll do that. And I am getting a different development work on a different table, like problem table. I'm doing same mistake, and somebody else is also doing same mistake. What will happen? They say, right, small mistakes mount up to a mount up as a big one. Like that, these small issues will mount up and it will cause system slowness. So these are best practices, I would say. You got it right, but it will not be a showstopper, like it will not work or it will completely down the system. Nothing. There will be a very small processing slowness, but why would you want to give a chance to that, right? As a part of best practices, also, when you are very certain or very sure that the script is going to take a long time because you're processing multiple records, better to put after async business rule. And it is not urgent, right? You want the update to be happening on the same second. You're okay to wait for like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, right? It is not going to take anything more than 1 minute. Like even if it is 1 lakh records, it will take like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, only that much. But I'm saying that time breathing space at least you have to give to the system. For that, better to put after a sync business rule.
I got it.
All right, yeah. So you guys make sure you practice this complete script include and this partial of business rule, and in all your practice section, make sure that you use a glide record. The more you get habituated with glide record, you will feel confident to handle the system. So glide record and glide ajax, just keep practicing that. And tomorrow we will look at the display business rule and query business rule. With that, business rule should be done. All right, guys. Then let's meet up again tomorrow morning, 8 in the morning.
Also tell admin to provide the updated PDF.
Sure. Can you just put the message on this WhatsApp, the training group, so that it serves as a reminder to me as well?
Yeah, sure.
All right, yeah.